Have you ever wondered why nations wage war and what the implications are of such actions on a global scale? Let's delve into a recent example: the US strikes in Iraq and Syria. These strikes were aimed at Iran-linked militias, a response to a series of attacks on US troops. The catalyst for this aggressive stance was a series of assaults resulting in traumatic brain injuries among American service members. These injuries were not random collateral damage, they were the result of calculated attacks by Iran-backed groups. Two separate incidents painted a grim picture. In one, 4 troops at a coalition base near Al-Hasaka were injured by a suspected Iranian drone. In another, 2 service members at mission support site Green Village fell victim to a similar attack. These attacks are not isolated incidents but part of a disturbing pattern. In 2020, over 100 service members were diagnosed with traumatic brain injuries after an Iranian missile attack in Iraq. The symptoms of these injuries can be debilitating, ranging from dizziness and confusion to headaches and personality changes. This was the spark that ignited the flame, leading to the US taking aggressive action. The retaliation was swift and fierce. The United States, in a move of defense, launched airstrikes against Iran-linked militias in both Iraq and Syria. These strikes, a calculated response to the threat of drone attacks on US troops, were not without their own cost. Reports indicate that the strikes resulted in casualties, including 5 militia members and, tragically, a child. The US administration stood firm in its rationale, emphasizing that these actions were a necessary defensive measure. The intention was clear: to safeguard US troops from the looming threat of further drone attacks. However, the question remains: were these strikes a proportionate response? The casualties, a stark reminder of the human cost of such actions, bring this question into sharp focus. The US is no stranger to military intervention, but each strike, each action taken, is a decision weighted with consequences. As we consider these airstrikes, we must also consider the potential repercussions, the lives affected, and the political fallout. The strikes were carried out, but at what cost? Every action carries a consequence, and this was no exception. In the aftermath of the strikes, the Iraqi government was quick to express their condemnation, deeming these actions as a violation of their sovereignty. The sentiment expressed was clear: the desire for the US military intervention to end. But the backlash didn't stop at the borders of Iraq. The strikes raised eyebrows and questions around the world, particularly concerning their legality. You see, Congress never gave the green light for war in Syria. Yet here we were witnessing strikes in a country where the US was not officially at war. This left many pondering the implications, questioning the overreach, and wondering about the precedent being set. This unexpected twist in international relations was not without its critics. Voices around the globe chimed in, adding to the growing chorus of concern. From political analysts to everyday citizens, the strikes sparked a global conversation about the role of military force in international politics. The world was watching, and the reactions were mixed. In the wake of the strikes, the world had to respond. The global community was quick to weigh in on the US's actions in Iraq and Syria. Some world leaders voiced their concern and condemnation, viewing the strikes as an overstep of the US's authority, while others expressed support, citing the need to protect US troops overseas. Notably, the Iraqi government condemned the strikes as a violation of their sovereignty, sparking a debate on the legality of the US's actions. The subsequent discourse has potential implications for future international relations, as nations grapple with the balance of power and the respect of sovereignty. Public opinion mirrored this divided response, with some advocating for the withdrawal of US troops from the region, while others argued for the necessity of maintaining a US presence to counteract potential threats. The strikes also highlighted the devastating human cost of conflict. 6 US service members were diagnosed with traumatic brain injuries following the attacks, underscoring the personal toll of these geopolitical struggles. Ultimately, the US's actions have set a powerful precedent. Whether this will lead to increased tensions or a shift in global dynamics remains to be seen. The strikes have left a mark not just on Iraq and Syria, but on the world. So, what does this mean for the future? We've delved into the catalyst, the strikes, the backlash, and the aftermath. Now, let's explore the road ahead. The strikes in Iraq and Syria were driven by a desire to protect US troops from drone attacks, a move met with international scrutiny and concern from the Iraqi government. A question looming large now is whether the presence of US forces in the region is in fact exacerbating the risk of violence. The Biden administration has signaled an openness to repealing the 2002 authorization for use of military force in Iraq, which could potentially leave them without legal authority for strikes in Iraq. This could lead to a significant shift in U.S. foreign policy and potentially a withdrawal of U.S. troops from Iraq and Syria. Such a move would undoubtedly leave a lasting impact on the region. It could dramatically alter the balance of power and give rise to new dynamics, potentially leading to a power vacuum that other regional players might rush to fill. The world watches with bated breath, waiting to see the course the U.S. will chart in the Middle East. As we look to the future, one thing is clear: the echoes of these strikes will be felt for years to come.